So we have another ecologist here who talks about the koala. Their initials are MH. In 2022, the koala was listed as endangered in New South Wales under the Biodiversity Conservation Act 2016. The koala is facing a very high risk of extinction in the near future due to a large reduction in population size because of habitat destruction. In February 2022, the koala was listed as endangered under the Nationally Registered EPBC Act 1999. It is the responsibility of the Australian government to protect this iconic species, and the task at hand by the independent review of the Act showed that the Commonwealth and its environment legislation is not doing its job. The recently updated federal guideline for the koala states that removal of habitat areas as small as 1 hectare and disturbing any land that provides for movement between patches of habitat is to be considered a potential significant impact. This is significant impact, and this whole development, and it should be assessed under the EPBC Act.
And this is why they're getting away with it, because when they say 1 hectare will have an impact, the new reports say there's less than 1/4 of a hectare, but we know that that's not right. So the report you were just reading said 3 hectares of koala habitat, and the report we know the councils has received back in the last few weeks is now down to 1/4 of a hectare. So they keep sort of lowering the bar, re-evaluating things at a level where they miss the milestones to be assessed and just blatantly lie.
So some of those significant impacts for not just the koala, but for all the threatened species on site include the adverse effect of habitat, critical habitat, the removal of that habitat, the modifying, destroying, isolating and destruction of that habitat and those corridors, those wildlife corridors, and the connectivity of those wildlife corridors, which interferes with the recovery of those species. It is strongly recommended that development be considered a controlled action under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. It should not be approved, and essentially the developers should be self-referring, which they haven't and which they seem to not be.
No.